Are you tired of using MacGuffins to string along your players in your campaign?
Well, today we're looking at the world-bending artifacts of weird artifacts I found in the guild.
Welcome everyone, I'm Sean, this is Tony, and today we're going to be reviewing weird artifacts I found in the guild by a bunch of different people.
Yeah, no. Isaac May actually had his hand in this here,
Yes.
and we had tons of different people, Brian Holmes and a bunch of others that put this together. And these are awesome. Like, I have to tell you guys, these are your end goal items.
Yeah, oftentimes in campaigns we find ourselves where we want to make these really cool items that maybe we even want to base a campaign on, or a plot hook, or make it like a really huge thing in your campaign. These are really good examples as to how you can make this item kind of be a central focus in your storyline.
Now, with that warning there, these are not things that you give out to your players all willy-nilly, because believe me, you're going to see how big these things are, and you're going to go like, what? It does that?
It's definitely safe to say none of these are probably uncommon, so.
Yeah. So let's get into them. There is quite a few to go over, but we're going to pick 5. Okay, so here's the cover art here. Weird artifacts I found in the guild. Interesting note here, Ashley May actually did the design of this one.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're familiar with her work, you know that she's got a ton of great stuff. We actually recently did a review on that too, so definitely check her out if you get a chance. But as you'll see in the wonderful index here, if you haven't really noticed here, there are pretty much dozens and dozens and dozens of all these really awesome artifact items that you can basically kind of write a story on or put in your campaign.
Yeah, there's 300 of them in 204 pages each, and it's not just like, oh, here's a stat block. It is literally, there's backstory on them. There's all this great information on each one. And I have to tip my hat to the people who wrote this one.
Yeah, a lot of work went into these, and as you'll notice as we're reviewing these, a lot of these are very long descriptions, lots of different features, but again, we're looking at items that your players want to get to at the end of that storyline.
Right, so let's take a look at some of these here. And the entropy throne is one that you found interesting.
This is like kind of like the best friend of the necromancer. This is basically like this throne, and it's kind of cool. They describe how you can put all the 4 different poles into this chair, and you know, they even have you carry around. I think your character would have loved that actually.
You know, well, he was a shadow sorcerer.
Yeah, right, exactly.
He absolutely would have loved being carried around. That was like his thing. And all the death is nice too.
It is definitely very death themed. To kind of go through this quickly, you besides the fact that you can sit in this wonderful throne, you have summon the horde. So once per day, you can actually summon up to 25 medium humanoid corpses as zombies. So you can actually animate up to 25 of these different zombies you can have on your side.
Now, seeing the big bad in your campaign sitting on this throne, being carried around from town to town, you know, it's scary for one.
Yeah.
But there's all these different abilities and stuff with it. And what I love about every single one of these is that it gives you a little thing of how to actually destroy it. So if it is the item that your big bad has, you now know how you have to kill it off.
Yeah, or if you have to stop one of your maniacal players from overtaking your party.
I don't want any of my players sitting on this.
Of course. So you also get this feature called In the Darkness We Feast. Love these descriptions. 3 times per day, you can cast darkness, and you and your zombies can see in it. Pretty simple.
It's nice. Reach out in the darkness. Yeah, find your way.
Now, the next feature that you get is For All Things an End. So basically, it halves healing of any source within 60 feet.
Again, a horrible thing for your big bad to have. You know, that last fight would be very difficult if you're trying to heal and it's only doing half.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of stinks. And then there is the Well of Entropy.
Yeah,
well.
Pretty basic. Essentially, you don't need to eat, drink, or sleep. And in addition, you are immune to necrotic damage and exhaustion. Now, the next thing that is really cool is the curse. Now, some of these items actually come with a bit of a drawback if you decide to use this as a player.
A lot of them have a drawback.
Yes, yeah.
But also to think of that, if you had your big bad with this thing, now you know what's going on. You know you can attack something. There's something that's going to happen.
Yes.
So what is the curse on the entropy throne?
So the curse for this one is really interesting. Essentially, if you go to 0 hit points while attuned to this, you get 1 death saving throw, and if you fail, you get absorbed into the chair and you cannot leave the chair.
It's my worst nightmare. It's like, you know what? I feel like I have been absorbed into my chair over these past couple months
like
too.
That. Yeah.
You know, I haven't gone through.
Yeah.
So the entropy throne, we think it's definitely a very creepy very solid item, though.
Yeah, for sure. Very cool.
Now, the next one here, which I thought was super interesting because this is a dart. You don't see too many magical darts.
We are big fans of underutilized weapons that are already in the D&D handbook, and dart is definitely one of them. Essentially, the dart is kind of like this hive of different wasps that are going to basically eat at the target. So named the hive, of course.
Right. It's kind of cool too because you get this. There's a con save that the person has to make when you hit it. But some of the things that this thing does, and I'm just going to paraphrase here for a second with it. The swarm is cool, but I really like that thing where there's no escape.
Yeah, so basically, once you throw it, it's like the dart seems to come alive, so it actually can ignore cover, and targets can't use their dex bonus towards their AC, and you're going to see some of the items that have sort of this, we'll call it like a piercing ability, which essentially ignores certain numbers related to items or stats, which is a really cool thing.
Right, so imagine you throw this thing, and no matter where your enemy is, whether behind, half cover, this, that, whatever, it ignores that whole thing, and their dex bonus is not added into their AC.
Yeah.
It's going to hit.
Yeah,
the whole
exactly. It comes with a couple other things as well. You can actually summon 2d6 giant wasps. It's very effective against devils if you happen to be in the 9 hells. But one of the cool things it has, including in that swarm feature, is one of the things you can do is you can throw it and it comes back to you, or you can leave it in the target and the target gets covered in all these, like the swarm of wasps.
Yeah, bees.
Yeah, it's horrible.
No, it's definitely bad. But with the devil stuff too, what I like about the devil thing on that is that, let's say the devil you're up against has resistance to poison damage or has an immunity to poison damage. Resistance becomes normal damage, and immunity becomes resistant.
Yeah, exactly. So nice, kind of really interesting way, a little particular, but a good way to kind of get over that damage resistance immunity.
Why don't you read how you destroy the hive? I find these interesting.
Yeah. So the hive must be returned to the ruins of the first hive of hell wasps deep in the bowels of the 9 hells. Placing the hive in the center of the ruins turns the hive into a new hell wasp queen, restoring the hive and drawing in hell wasps from all over the hells. I feel like I've said hell so many times in this video, but...
Well, see, the thing that's interesting, how do you get out of that?
It's almost like this never-ending loop almost.
You get there, you put this thing down, next thing you know, it turns into a hell wasp queen, and now you're surrounded by hell wasps.
Yeah, exactly.
You are not meant to put this thing back. Someone braver than Frodo has to put this back. All right, now the next one here is near and dear to my heart because of my Chronomancer creation. This is the Hourglass of Time.
Yeah, now the Hourglass of Time is very cool. Sometimes it gets a little bit into dangerous territory when you mess with items that are manipulating time or even manipulating game mechanics related to turn order or when things can happen. But this is actually a really cool item.
Yeah, and I think it does it in an okay way.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing that's going to kill everything, but again, nothing you want your big bad to have.
Yeah, you get a couple basic things. You can't be aged. You're immune to magic that would normally age you otherwise. You have this ability called Temporal Strike, which basically you can actually, when you hit a creature with an attack, they have to make a wisdom save or move one round forward in time. They get stuck in this this pocket dimension.
We love pocket dimensions.
They're useful.
But what I like about this one is that it actually removes them from the combat for that round and then plops them back in the next round in the same place that they were.
Right, exactly. So very cool.
So it's not so much, I have to remember this or remember that. It's just, okay, whoop, and then come back.
Yeah, exactly. You also get 2 different auras you can have active. You have Weight of Ages or Gift of Alacrity. Alacrity, thank you.
There you go.
The first one is actually going to give disadvantage on initiative checks and dex saving throws and reduce speed by 10 feet. The other is actually going to double speed and give advantage on initiative checks and dex saving throws.
Very good for your party. Very good to go in and, take out that guy that's there, or your horde of enemies or what have you.
Yeah.
And very nice for having that double speed. I know Rangers would love that.
Precisely. And the Reweave recent event has a lot of different things. Essentially, you can change out a roll. You can make it, make it successful or a fail. It also has a lot of different spells that are very well themed. You have access to Hold Monster, Haste, Gentle Repose, Hold Person, and not to mention, there is a small chance that you may de-age or age quite a couple years if you misuse the item.
That's right. If you expend your last charge on this item with it, you roll 3d10. If it's I think it's an odd number. So on an odd number, you age up. On a even number, you age down.
Yeah, really interesting.
Well, here's the thing. You roll 3 10s, you have a 30-year-old character.
What happens?
Well, you just turn into I don't know what they turn into. But then again, destroying the artifact, we should go over that real quick.
Yeah, so it can be destroyed if you use to influence an event from the past. The Hourglass can be sacrificed to change an event as a year or more. After this, the time sand is expended and the Hourglass loses its magic. Actually, a really cool plot hook. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this next one, and we're going through these kind of fast, but we're also 10 minutes into this thing, and you can see these are actually some of the shorter ones.
Yeah, there are some that are several pages long, so keep that in mind.
Yeah. So this one's Second Skin. Now, this thing, I'm warning you, is a little grotesque.
It's a little gross, but it kind of turns you into this pseudo flesh golem / doppelganger kind of thing. Mm-hmm. It's basically literally a second skin that you kind of put yourself over your body. Besides giving you a little bit of extra AC, it's going to do a couple of different things. You can even alter self at will. You can even, change your shape into a creature that's small, medium, or large. You have access to a living weapon that you can use to strike other creatures.
Right. So as you hit with that, your unarmed strikes deal an extra 3d8 acid damage when you're doing that. And for the duration, you inflict double damage to objects and structures.
Yeah.
Hulk smash.
Right, essentially, yes. Again, there's a lot of different things. You have access to amorphous shapes, so you can kind of squeeze into those tiny spaces, stretch. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the interesting things is kind of the curse that kind of afflicts you with second skin. So it's kind of interesting. Essentially, after 3 days, the changes become a little slow, but after it's been 7 days, you lose all your features. You really, truly become this kind of like blank slate of a person.
It's scary, actually, because you kind of resemble a doppelganger with that.
Essentially,
right? So,
yeah.
The whole changeling thing, you have no facial features whatsoever.
Right.
And it's very hard to remove the skin, isn't it?
It's quite difficult, actually. In fact, even if you're able to get rid of it, you actually have disadvantage on all charisma checks until you remove the penalty by becoming attuned to second skin again. So you're forever cursed to fail that persuasion check or fail that intimidation check until you put it on again, but then you're wearing the second skin again.
And those horrible effects and those scars, do they go away when you get rid of it?
No, of course not.
No, you have to look it's not
fun.
So destroying the skin with that, I know we're going over these kind of quickly with that too, but let's just say there's a lot of stuff you got to do to destroy the skin, and even when you're destroying it, it's not really
yeah, exactly. It's safe to say that some of these items require a bit of a process in order to fully get rid of them, so just keep that in mind.
Now, this last one we're going to look at, we love Tarrasques here at the Homebrew Crew.
We sure do.
We have fond memories of Mother.
Yes.
And other things. So the Tarrasque toothpick is literally that. So it's a war pick, right?
Yeah, and again, kind of another item that we don't see too often, but this is going to be a magical war pick. Really interesting, +3 to attack and damage rolls. Also has a vicious weapon and sort of wounding features, so very, very potent on those natural 20s.
Right, and then of course there is Hungering Strike. Now, when you hit with this weapon, you can use a bonus action to deal another 3d6 damage to it. You gain half the additional damage as healing, which is always nice. And if you're suffering from the toothpick's curse, which we'll get to in a second, you'll see what that does.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of get to put the curse a little away, which we'll get into. You also get parts of a whole. So basically, the Warpick has these slivers that are kind of on the toothpick itself.
Yeah.
And as you're wounding these creatures, these picks may get stuck into the creature, and you can essentially use this as kind of like a tracking device because you can actually sense the picks within 10 miles of you. So they're kind of like this pseudo tracking device you can put on these creatures. Really cool stuff.
Now you have to be careful because Tarrasques can also tell where that pick is at all times.
Yes, actually that's one of the cooler features about this. In case you decide to make like the Tarrasque like your all-end being in the game here, you can kind of toss this in as like, hey, you want to use this awesome war pick? Well, great. The Tarrasque will always know where you're at.
Right. Now you do get that resistance to venom and spells and things like that, like the Tarrasque normally was.
Sure, of course.
Let's read the curse because I think this is the best one on this.
Yeah, it's important to note this weapon is pretty much unbreakable, and you do have an unfortunate curse for this. You must devour your own body weight in food each day, which you can come to consume despite obvious physical limitations. If you don't, you actually start gaining levels of exhaustion from this never-ending hunger, essentially.
So that means with that Hungering Strike, which you have to do every hour, because it only lasts for an hour, using your bonus action at least once on that every hour to make sure that you do not have to consume your body weight.
Yeah, exactly. You might start getting a little desperate, so be sure to watch out for that. You can use Remove Curse on this, but you also lose attunement on the item as well, so you can't really hold on to this without that sacrifice.
Now, this has just been 5 of these really cool items. There are, like I said, 295 more.
Yeah, exactly.
That you guys can check out. But this is an awesome book. You definitely should check this one out. Once again, if you do want to check that out, that is Weird Artifacts I Found in the Guild. And it's by a bunch of people. You can find it in the DMs Guild. Just search for Weird Artifacts. It should come up.
It's a lot of fun trying to homebrew special items that you want to make really awesome in your campaign. And these are some really good examples as to how you can make an item and give it a lot of different features, give it a lot of backstory and lore, and even build a story or a campaign off of it and have a lot of fun with your players.
Now, again, do not give these all to your players on that, but one good item out of this book will set you for your entire campaign. These are really awesome things, and there are some in there for lower level stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if you like what you saw, be sure to give a little click down there on that subscribe button. We actually review a lot of different stuff on the channel. We do homebrew monsters, classes, races, and items as well. So if you do like what you see, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification. That way you'll know when we get a video up.
And remember, the best campaigns are always the ones that are homebrewed. So until next time,
keep brewing.